Hello and welcome to Tuesday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic, where today we're going to be taking a look at a brand new puzzle by the fantastic constructor Agent. I'm a huge fan of Agent's puzzles, and this is called High Ground. And I think it's either just been created or just been released on Logic Masters Germany. I'm not sure which. The reason we're trying this today is one of our testers tried it in their leisure time, and immediately dropped me an email to say that this is an absolutely brilliant piece of work. I think it seems to be a hybrid puzzle, mixing up Sudoku with the Japanese logic problem called Nurikabe, which is a wonderful puzzle. But normally one would expect, when one mashes up two different puzzle types, that you'd end up with a really long rule set. But here Agent has achieved this mashup with only 4 sentences of rules. So this is going to be interesting indeed. I'll read you those rules in a moment or two. What do I want to tell you about first? Oh, I'm going to start off today with a crossword clue of all things. Where's my crossword clue? Here we go. It's not my crossword clue. It's Brian's crossword clue, who lives at that Twitter handle there. What they say and may do is the clue. 5 letters. And when I asked this one, I was on a call with Mark earlier, and I asked him what he thought the answer was. Didn't immediately get it. I asked for a letter. I gave him the first letter, and then he got it, and he said that is brilliant and fair, and it is a brilliant clue. So if you fancy yourself as anybody, well, as somebody who enjoys wordplay, you will absolutely love this once you get it. I won't tell you the answer now. Go to our Twitter, which is @CrypticCracking, where I've done a whole thread explaining how the clue works. So, but do give yourself a moment or two to have a go at it. If you get it, honestly, it will make your day. What else have I got to tell you about? Let me think. I've got some birthdays to do. David, you've turned 29 today, on the 28th of February. And thank you for offering to create a theme song for Cracking the Cryptic. That sounds like a challenge to me. I don't think words like Sudoku have too many good rhymes. And just to be clear, neither Mark nor I should be allowed anywhere near the vocals for your theme song, should you ever decide to do it. And next, Robert. Well, I was about to say it's your birthday, but my notes actually tell me, well, tomorrow is your birthday, but your birthday is actually on February the 29th, which I guess isn't tomorrow, really. And I've suddenly realised as well, I've written down that you turn 15, which is the minimum sum of a 5-cell killer cage. And I know this because your brother William wrote to us. But does that mean you're actually turning... Are you turning sort of 15 in human years, or in terms of leap year years, if you're only reaching 15, and maybe you don't turn 15 tomorrow because there is no February the 29th, are you actually 60 years old? I don't know. But Robert, I know it's your birthday sometime around now, and I wish you many happy returns. And then Gina, you've turned 52, and I think this was yesterday, and this is not my fault, because your daughter Dottie wrote to us this morning to say that could I not only wish you a happy belated birthday, but could I apologise on her behalf, because she was late. She's been meaning to write to us for months apparently, and only remembered this morning. So Gina, I hope you had a brilliant day yesterday. I believe you had almond bunt. I guess that's a type of cake. I mean, it's the wrong cake, but let's put that to one side. Anyway, I hope you had a brilliant day, of course. Now, as it's the 28th of February, as tomorrow is not the 29th of February, I'm saying that glibly, I don't think it is a leap year tomorrow. I'm pretty sure that tomorrow is the day that we are releasing our new Sudoku hunt for our patrons over on Patreon. And look, I can show you a bit of art from this. Alice's Adventures in Sudokuland from the Paint by Numbers Institute. In this case, I think that's Panthera, TheAsylum and Montinox have put this together. And I have to say, I really admire, or each of the puzzles comes with quite a long poem that they've made, and it's really, it's just a lovely hunt. And if you solve 3 of the puzzles correctly, you'll have the opportunity to enter March's competition. If you solve all 12 of the puzzles by the 10th of March, you'll get a shout out on the channel. So that's coming live at 4 o'clock tomorrow, and do have a go at it. You won't regret it. And then the only other thing I need to mention is in relation to February's hunt, where we've still got more names of successful solvers of Glum Hippo's fossil hunt. So many congratulations. These people solved the whole thing, which was no mean feat. Anita Burke, Cameron Hodgkin, Aaron Hagman, Joseph Lazito, Frank Thompson, Dustin and Ariane Meyer, Dirk van Bergen, Andrew Edwards, Brandon Crow, Will Semmer, Len Sorensen, Kavita Jagannathan, Eporama, I think that says, Winnie Peng, Nim Batchelor, Adriana Lemoose, I think, Jim South and Gwen Kelly, and Dan Markelon. Very well solved, all of you. And I can hear in the distance that Maverick has obviously returned from his world tour to promote his movie and taken off from the local aerodrome. Welcome again to the videos, Maverick. And anyway, let's have a look at High Ground by Agent, and I'll read you the rules to this one. Apparently this is marvellous. Normal Sudoku rules apply. Digits along an arrow must sum to the digit in that arrow's circle. So if we try, I don't know, 3 and 5 in there, 3 plus 5 equals 8, and that would be how an arrow might work. All low digits, 1s, 2s, 3s, 4s and 5s, oh, don't turn off my computer, Bitdefender, all low digits must be orthogonally connected with each other. So let's stop and think about what that means. What does orthogonally connected mean? It means connected via a long edge. So these two cells are not orthogonally connected. To make them orthogonally connected, we could add that to the party. And now you can see you can trace all the way from here to here via long edge connections. And I guess what we could do as well, imagine we let's put a 3 in the corner, which is cheating. It doesn't get a song if I just put it there. If I put a 3 in the corner, but I surrounded it by high digits, let's put 7 and 8 in there. Then, what colour should we have? Let's have my favourite green for low digits, and I'll make those red. Now, this 3, this I think is breaking the puzzle, because I have not connected all of the low digits together orthogonally, because this one sits in the corner alone and away from its friends. It cannot form any orthogonal connections with green digits, so it is very sad. Then, just one more rule, each 2 by 2 group of cells must contain at least one high digit. So if those 3 were low, that would have to be a high, is what we can say there. We have to make sure we have at least one red digit in my world in each 2 by 2. And that's it. Do have a go at the puzzle. The way to play is to click the link under the video, as usual. But now I get to play. Let's get cracking. I'm just trying to get my head around the Nurikabi elements of this. I think it is a bit like Nurikabi, isn't it? Because in Nurikabi what you have is you have islands in, I always think about as islands in the water. So the water has to be orthogonally connected, and then you get islands of specific sizes in the middle of the grid. Now we don't have any concept of specific sized islands here. But the water in Nurikabi isn't allowed to fully occupy a 2 by 2 group of cells, so that's lovely. So Agent has mimicked that aspect of the rules, and what we're going to have is islands made up of the high digits, basically. That's very, very clever. Now, actually, having said that, let's try and solve this. Now, the first thing that's terrifying about this puzzle, there may be more things, but the first thing that is terrifying about it is with the absence of box 1, box 1's arrow there, every single other arrow in this puzzle is the most useless form of arrow, which is a 2-cell arrow. And why do I condemn 2-cell arrows with the adjective useless? It is because, I mean, even a 1-cell arrow is better than a 2-cell arrow. If this was a 1-cell arrow going there, at least you know those are then the same digit. But a 2-cell arrow, I mean, it could be as small as, the circle could be as small as a 3, could be as large as a 9, and the digits on the arrow can be a multitude of things. The only thing you can't put on a 2-cell arrow is a 9. That's literally the only actual positive, well, it's not literally the only positive thing you can say about a 2-cell arrow, but it's about the most interesting thing. The 2-cell arrow is the equivalent of Simon at a party. You know, it is quite boring. Right, okay, let's start there then. That's a 3-cell arrow, so that's at least the minimum we could put on there would be 1, 2 and 3. 1, 2 and 3 add up to 6, so that circle is at least equal to 6. And there's another thing I can see in box 1, which I suppose is giving some credence to this 2-cell arrow. If we combine this 2-cell arrow with this 3-cell arrow, those 5 digits must add up to at least 15, because if I put 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 into those squares, which would be the least I could put in, then these arrows would add up to 15, which means the circles must add to 15, which means that digit is at least a 6. Because if I max this out, I still would have to put a 6 in here. Oh, okay, and these are high digits, aren't they? So which I was going to make red. Right, so those two are high digits, and there's got to be quite a lot of low digits on those arrows. Right, okay, but we can do, there's one more trick that I've got to show you. So this box is full of tricks, and there's one more trick that I've seen before here, which is the question, where does this digit go in box 1? Now at first blush we might say, let's give that a purple flash, we might say that purple could go there. But that will not work. The maths is now broken. And if you can't see why it's broken, just pause the video and have a think about it, because it's quite elegant, this. The reason it's broken is, well, the way to think about it is to think about those 4 digits now and ask what these cells could add up to. And the minimum they could add up to would be a 1, 2, 3 and 4, which would be 10. But if we know that this is there, then that's implying that this must add up to the total of those 4 digits, mustn't it? Because these arrows together add up to those 2 cells. So if those add up to at least 10, that now needs to be at least 10. And no matter how hard we try or how much we wish it, that will not work. So in fact, I think what we can say is not only do these acquire the mantle of redness, they are the same digit. And that's interesting. It's amazing how much this does. And this is just, I've not used the Nurikabe rule at all, have I? No, I haven't. So these 2 digits now can't be 6 or 7, because we said the minimum they could add up to was 15. And because these are now the same digit, we can't make them add up to 12 or 14 by using 6 or 7. So they're now either adding up to 16 or 18. Now, if it was 16, we would know the composition, because 5 cells adding up to 16 in Sudoku with different digits has to be 1, 2, 3, 4 and 6. Which would make that 5, 7 and 9. If those were both 9, you couldn't put 9 in those 2 cells, because that would be on a 2-cell arrow, so the 9 would go there, and this 2-cell arrow would be laughing at me, saying, you said I was boring, but I did things. Okay. What on earth do we do with that? We could say that these 2 are the same, so they don't go in those circles. I don't get this. Right, okay, what's the other rule? All low digits must be orthogonally connected. So is there some reason why? Do we have to be careful about how we get these digits? or how we get any low digits, say, in those 6 cells. There must be low digits in those 6 cells. We can't make, well, we could never make all 3 of those high. That just wouldn't work for many reasons. But especially this circle would be broken. What's the other rule? Each 2 by 2 has to have a high digit in it. So we've got to have... well, no, that's fine, isn't it? We've got to have a high digit on an arrow, that's telling us. Right, so if there was a high digit on this arrow, this would have to be a 9, because a high digit is a 6, 7, 8 or 9, and a 3-cell arrow can only have a 6, 7, 8 or 9 if it's specifically a 6 with a 1, 2 pair. So either there's a high digit there, which is a 6 with a 1, 2 pair, or that is a high digit. Yeah, okay, that's it. That's actually really, really clever. Already really, really clever. 10 out of 10 for clever by Agent again. Okay, I don't think that works. So what I'm saying is, if I make those 3 digits, my colour was green. If I make these 3 digits green, then because of the 2 by 2 rule, I've got to make this a high digit. So that would become red. But now, that cell can't be red, because that would be 2 reds, 2 digits that are at least 6, adding up to a single digit total. Mathematics tells us that's wrong. So this has to be green. But how do I connect this green to anything? I've got 2 more reds to put into these cells. So there's no way that green can be orthogonally connected. It can't. All of these would have to be, all of those 3 would have to be green to make that work. That's very, very pretty, because that's huge. Because if this is not the high digit in this 2 by 2, or to put it a different way, if all 3 of those cannot be low, and we've just shown they can't be, one of these is high, so this is 1, 2, 6. And that adds up to 9, I suppose, is something we'd already established was the case. So these have to add up to 9 without being 1, 8, 2, 7 or 3, 6. So those 2 squares are now 4, 5. 4 and 5 are lower than or equal to 5. So they're definitely green. And these squares are 3, 7 and 9. Not 9. 3, 7 and 8. So, but 3, 7 and 8 we can't colour yet, can we? Okay. Oh yeah. We said if those 2 are 9, we can this arrow is laughing at me. I can put 9 there by the power of Sudoku, really, and a very, very, very tiny bit of this arrow not being able to have a 9 on it. Okay, let's get rid of the purplification now. I think we've done purplification. And I know one of those 3 squares is high. I know 2 of these 3 squares is high. I was about to say one of which must be in that 2 by 2, but that's forced anyway. One of these at least must be a 7 or an 8, so we're never going to run into a 2 by 2 of green problem there. Right. Aha. No. Wow, nearly. Very nearly. Okay, column 6 is where my eyes are being drawn, because, well, rather annoyingly, I can use the 2-cell arrows again. So where does 9 go in column 6? It's nearly restricted. Not there, not there, not there, and you can't put it on 2-cell arrows. So one of 2 places. Yeah, I told you those arrows were boring. So 9 is in one of those cells. I don't, well, I suppose the same is true there. Right, what about, or okay, maybe it's the fact that we can't put 9s into these circles then. So the maximum size of these circles is now 8. But those could both be 8, couldn't they? And that would mean those could add up to 16 as a maximum, which is fine. That doesn't even force there to be a 1 on those arrows. You could do 16 with just 2s, 3s, 4s, 5s and 6s. Or probably even 7s actually. 7, 2, 3, 4 would work. Okay, so how do we do this then? 7, 8. That circle is a bit restricted because it can't be very high. It can't be 6 either actually, that one. It can't be 6 because you couldn't make this domino add up to 6 because 4 and 5 don't work in it. So that square, so that square is restricted. It's 4 or 5. In theory, it could have been 3 absent Sudoku with a 1-2 pair here. But it actually can't be because there's a 3 in the column. So, right, so, well, this is lovely. I get a red digit. Because if that's green, the 2 cells summing to green must also be green. But that's a 2 by 2 now without a red in it, so that's red. And it's 6 because it can't be 7, 8 or 9. Oh, this is absolutely gorgeous. Okay, so this is adding up to 4 or 5 without having 4 or 5 in it. So we're using 1, 2 and 3. One of them must be a 3 because we can't make 1 and 2 add up to 4 and 5 or 5. 3 is in one of those cells by Sudoku. And what does that mean? That means that why can't I just see what that means? Maybe I meant to pencil mark this column. 1, 2, 4 and 5 into the gaps. It looks like that's trying to be a quadruple, doesn't it? But the fact there's a 3 in there sort of scuppers that. 7 and 8 in this box have to be in those cells. So 7 and 8 have to be in these cells in box 4. Ah, okay. Okay. So that cell has to be a 7 or an 8. Because if this cell wasn't a 7 or an 8, those 2 cells would be a red 7 and a red 8, and these 2 squares are definitely low and they couldn't get out. So in fact that's going to be easier to see if I do that. You can't do that. It's penning in low digits. We mustn't do that, so that's got to be a 7 or an 8, which is red. So that means, right, are there any more cells here that we can definitely colour? No, I don't think so. Are there any 2 by 2s that we've got a problem with? There is going to be a 7 or an 8 here. Oh, so one of these cells is green. Oh, that's right, that's it. Okay, column 2. Because one of these cells is a 7 or an 8, it's going to be like a red wall. A popular phrase in British politics at the moment, the red wall. Well, we must have holes in our red wall in this puzzle, because otherwise these poor little green cells here will never meet their friends. So imagine that's red, obviously then this is green, but the fact that that would be green, that means that these 6 cells must contain the 5 green digits in column 2. And that means that cell can't be a 6th green digit because there are only 5 green digits. So that digit's got to be a 6, which means that it is red. These have just become green. This digit is now not green because were it to be green, it would get fenced in by the 7 and the 8 above it. So that digit is high, and that creates a little, well, not necessarily a little, it could be a continually growing island, depending on which way round these 2 digits go. Okay. So now 6 is it? Oh, ooh, yes, okay. Now 6 is living over here, but I can't put 3 and 6 on this arrow because that arrow would add up to 9. This is absolutely beautiful. So that square's got to be a 3 or a 6. Oh, it's sick. It's so clever, this. It really is. Okay, let's imagine. Can this be a 3? No, because if it's a 3, what this naughty two-cell arrow, this puzzle is basically designed to show me that my maligning of two-cell arrows is completely unjustified. If that's a 3, the minimum digits I can put on that arrow and keep this down to a single digit total is a 4-5 pair, but that would add up to 9. So that doesn't work. So that has to be the 6, which is red. So there is now no 6 on here. And there's no 1 and no 2. So this is right. So this is either a 3-4 adding up to 7 or a 3-5 adding up to 8. Which means this digit is red again. And that means we've got all our rednesses in row 4, so all of those have to be green now. Which, if that's green, those two have to be green. And now we can do 2x2s on our water Nurikabi. Those have both got to be red to avoid 2x2s. Oh, these are both green, of course. This is absolutely beautiful. I can already tell you that I really hope that this is not the last rule set we see. Last puzzle with this rule set. This is so gorgeous, frankly. Now, now what? What do we do now? That can't be green, because if that's green, I get 6 cells of green in column 6. So that's got to be red, which unfortunately is not going to tell us anything about these two digits. They could absolutely have a red digit on them. That square's got to be a 6, 7 or an 8 though. Oh no, there's a part of me that wants to make this red to avoid a checkerboard, but that logic doesn't work in Nurikabi puzzles. Do we know? Well, okay, that digit is at least a 3, because these digits have to be lower than 5, don't they? These are 1, 2, 3 and 4. I fear I've just come to the most almighty halt now. One of those has to be red to avoid a 2x2 of green. And if that was red, that would mean this was red as well. Oh, same thing in row 3. Yeah, okay, so we know what colour this digit is, I think, is the point. This digit has to be green. And that's because if we look at these 5 digits here, I've got an awful lot of 2x2s that I've got to prevent with red digits. So, in fact, yeah, okay. Where do we put the red digits in this? We've only got 2 red digits to play with. Where do we put them in that 5-cell stripe? Bearing in mind that if we had any domino along this stripe that was purely green, and if any of these was a pure green domino, we would create a 2x2 of green. Well, the only way I think that we can possibly avoid that is with 2 reds like this. Oh, that's okay if that's green. So I think we have to put the only 2 reds we've got left to play with in these two positions. That's the only way we can avoid having a green domino. Now, that means actually all of these cells are green. That must be green, because we can't add two reds to another red. That must be red to avoid a 2 by 2 of green. Now, that digit is a 7. This is lovely as well. That has to be a 7 because that can't be a 9. So if this was any higher, that would have no fill. So that's 7, that's 1, that's 8. There's now no 1 on these arrows down here. So these must be a 2, 3 pair adding up to 5. Here we go. Here we go. This square is a naked single 4 because it sees all of the other low digits. Oh, this is beautiful. 1, 2, 3 triple here. What about that digit? Well, okay, no, maybe it can still be a low digit. If that was 4, that would have to be 5, and we'd have all of the low digits there. And those would be another island of high digits. What's that digit? That's got to be a 6 or a 9. This 7 is doing that digit, actually. There's a digit for us. Now, there's nothing about repeating digits on islands, is there? So I think we don't know what this is yet. So perhaps the only way we find out what this is via this arrow correcting this. We could still get a 3 in the corner, actually. Do we have any more 2 by 2 problems? There's a possible 2 by 2 problem here. Have we got... Okay, that square can't be red, because if this square is red, it's blocking in 2 greens at the top of the grid. This is lovely. I absolutely love puzzles like this, because the marrying up of the rule sets is just so perfect. Look, there's a 1 up here. I think that was available before. This 1, 2 pair was resolvable, but I didn't see it. This is the same. This domino contains a red and a green digit. If I make that the red digit, the green digit's going to be unable to orthogonally connect. So that must be the green digit. That must be the red digit. Now that's got to be a 9 in the box. That's got to be a 6 in the box. That's got to be a 9 by Sudoku, which we could have seen before. I'm never one to major on the Sudoku. 5. I've just done some Sudoku. 5 in box 2 has to go there. That's a 2, 3, 4 triple. So that's not 2. 3, 4. We've got roping. We've got roping in the central columns. 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4. What does roping mean? I hear some of you ask. Well, what this means is by Sudoku, those squares have got to be 2, 3, 4, which are all green. But now consider, well, how should we do this? Let's consider where 7, 1, 8 goes in this box. They can't go in those squares, and they aren't equal to 2, 3, 4, so they have to go in those squares. So that's a 1, 7, whoopsie, a 1, 7, 8 triple, which means this will be a 1, 7, 8 triple. And 5, 6, 9, so this is a 6, 9 pair, which are both red, aren't they? So that becomes red. This becomes 5, 6, 9. One of which is green. Okay, so I can't... That's not 6. That's not 9. Okay. Let's take stock and stare. Okay, so there is now, look, there's an 8 over here. There is a 6 over here. So there is... Right, so there is not, definitively not a 7 there. Because if that was 6, 7, 8, all of the greens at the top would then get boxed in by the rednesses in the grid. So there is no 7, so there's a 7 in one of those squares, which means get ready, that's 3 in the corner, that's 3 in the spotlight, losing its religion. No, don't make it red, Simon. That's not right. So this is not a 3. Okay. Right, so what do we do now? We've got... Is it obvious? It probably is obvious. I feel like we've taken huge strides. We've got to be a bit careful down here, look. Oh, you can't put a high... Oh, no, you can put a high... Oh, rotten thing. Okay, I was about to say you can't possibly put a high digit here, because I thought it would break this circle, but actually it doesn't, though. It can't be an 8. But if it was 7, it could go with 2, and that would still add up, so that could be high. I've got to get rid of... I've got 2 high digits there and 2 high digits there. So I'm not going to run into 2 by 2 problems with that 2, 3, 4 string. My phone's buzzing at me, that's fine. Okay. Is this obvious where I'm meant to look now? Could be. Okay, here's a little point. I've got to put 6 and 8 into these squares. If this wasn't one of those high digits, so if the 6 was there and the 8 was there, for example, we'd have an upside down pyramid that's going to lock in the green 1 at the top of the grid. So that digit's got to be a 6 or an 8 to stop that from happening. I don't know what to do. 2, 3, okay, these digits are from 2, 3 and 4. Is it this square? Is there... If that's high, it's got to be 7 or 8. If it's low, that could be a 1, I think. Oh no, hang on, that's it, look, it's this. I've got a 1, 2, 3 triple here, so that's at least a 4. And if that's at least a 4, this has become red. So this is a 7 or an 8, and therefore this digit, it could be 4, 4 and 3 would add up to 7. 4, 5 and 2, or 5 and 3, 6 and 2, it can't be as high as 7 because that would have no fill. So that that means it can still be both colours. Ah! Oh, that was nearly good. Okay, that's high as well, isn't it? So let's red that one. So we've only got one more red to play with in column 8. Does one of these have to be red? If neither of those were red, they'd be double green. That would put reds... No, that would still probably work. Is it this digit? No, okay, I'm now getting badly stuck. I haven't really got any ideas as to where I'm meant to look either. Is this somehow restricted? I don't think it is. 7 and 2 would make 9. Oh, it can't make 6 in that cell. Which is going to give me that digit, actually. Yeah, okay, this might be where we look now. If that's a 6, that domino becomes impossible. You can't make these 2 digits add up to 6. So that means we get a 6 at the bottom of the grid, which is a red digit. So we've got a 5-9 pair above it, which we can't colour. We still don't know the colour of this one either. I've got it. Right, okay. Okay, so now the way to see this is to double click the reds. Okay. What would happen if those 2 squares were a 7-8 pair? Let me just show you. If that's a 7-8 pair, I think we've got a red wall going all the way down the grid. And there's no way to orthogonally connect the greens in the bottom left and bypass the red wall. So these 2 squares cannot both be red, which means one of them must be a 1, which means that square is a 7, this square is a 2, this is a 9, this is a 5. This is now a 3-4 pair. That's not a 2 in the corner, so there's a 2 up there. which means there's a 2 on the arrow. Is that right? I think that is right. If that can't be 2, the 2 in this column is, oopsie, is in one of those 2 squares. By Sudoku, there's a 2 on the arrow. We knew there was a 3 on the arrow, so that must be an arrow that adds up to 5, which means that we can get rid of that, put 2, 3 in. There's definitely a 1 here now by Sudoku, so there's no 1 there. Apart from me, there's no 5 there, so this becomes 2, 4. 1 goes in the corner. This is 1, 7, 8. Oh, this is it? Haven't? No, I was just wondering because I remembered I got 1, 7, 8 here. I've now got 1, 7, 8 here, but the ropes are different. The other digit, you know, there's a 4, 3, 2 here. There is not a 4, 3, 2 over there, and we don't have roping in the first 3 columns. So, okay, I was distracted momentarily by the possibility of that. Right, so 4, 7, and 8 down there, which means that which means this arrow is now 3 and 5. 3 and 5 add up to 8, so that must be a 7. These 2 squares become a 1, 8 pair. Let's get rid of all of the corner pencil marking now, because I don't think we need it. Probably famous last words, but we've got loads of pairs along row 5 and row 6. We've got, okay, so we've got a 1, 8 pair here. That's got to be a red digit now. That's got to be a green digit. Same thing again though. That can't be 8 because that's going to create a different red wall. If that was red, we'd have another red wall. We can't have any red walls. So 1 and 8 we know. I don't know if that's done anything, but let's fill it in anyway. So all of we get another island of redness at the bottom. Okay, 9 has to be in one of those 2 cells because it doesn't seem to be able to be there. Oh yeah, well, that's fair enough. There is a 9 in its column after all. 6, no, 6 is in one of these 3 squares. But, no, we've still got the possibility of 7s and 8s in these squares. I was about to get excited about something unjustifiably there. Right, so what's going on? Why is that red? Oh, that's red to avoid a 2 by 2 here. So that digit is, I think, 6, 7, 8 or 9. So if that's 8, that's got to be 6. There's no problem with that, I don't think. What about... okay, hang on a minute. Trying to do this without pencil marking, which is not probably sensible. No, it's fine. Right, okay. Where does 9 go in box 6 is the question I'm going to ask now, because it's quite an interesting question. You can't put 9 in there. You can't put 9 there. You can't put 9 on a 2-cell arrow. I feel really stupid that I said I had a real go about 2-cell arrows, and they've basically been nothing but helpful in this puzzle. And look now. We get this sort of skyscraper pattern of 9s, but we can actually resolve this by thinking about the Nurikabe, because if that's a 9, that's got to be the 9 in box 6. And look what I've created again. Another red wall, a different red wall. It's a highly political puzzle, this. We must not create red walls. So that means that cannot be 9. And in fact, that must be 9, which makes that 9. That gives us a different opportunity for a red wall. Well, now that can't be red without creating a red wall, because we know that there are some greens down here because there are so many greens in every box. So that's green. That's green to get the greens down here out. That's red. Oh, that's it. That's absolutely beautiful. Look at that. That's red to avoid a 2 by 2, and in becoming red, it must be 6. It's the only option it's got. So so this is 2, this is 3. That's 8, which means that is 6 at the top. There's definitely an 8 in this domino, and it can't go there because that would need to be a 9. So it must go there, which means we can redify that. We can get an 8 over here, a 1, a 1, a 7, a 2 and a 4, a 3 and a 5, and a 9 and a 6. We've not put 5 in this row, so let's put that in. That's green. These two squares have got to be 4 and 7, which actually means that the red digit is here in order to make that work. Because if we put 4 there, we'd need another 4 here. So this has got to be a 1 by our old friend mathematics. That's not a 1 at the top of the grid. I've got 8 goes there by the power of Sudoku. That's all 4 rednesses in row 2, so that becomes a green digit, which is not a 1 or a 2, so it's a 3, 4 or a 5, I think. Okay, and look at the top of this grid. We've got to be so careful. Well, we've got to put a 7 in fact. And the 7 can't go there, which I could have told you anyway, because if the 7 had gone there, these two greens would have been penned in. And if the 7 goes here, this digit will be green and will be penned in. So the 7 goes exactly there. These two squares have to include a 1, which goes in the corner. So that's green. And this digit is not able to be 3. Or 4 or 5. That's a naked single 2, which means that's a 4, that's a 4, that's a 5, that's a 3, that's a 2, that's a 5. These squares now are a 3, 4 pair. That gets greenified. Come on. There's a 6. Oh, okay. Where does 6 go in the bottom box? I think we've only got one position for it now, which is exactly there. So that gets redded. That's all of the reds in this column. This has got to get out, so we can't make that red, so that's got to be green. We need to put a 7 in, which has got, in fact, it's got to go there by Sudoku now. So that green gets out. This is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, that's a 3 then by Sudoku. This has got to be a 1, 2 pair by Sudoku. These have got to be a 4, 5 pair by Sudoku. We can do all this. It's done, I think. I think it's falling. Let's hope that's not famous last words. So this is 4. The 2 here does this. 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 7. And all that's left to do is to do some colouring in. And this is an absolute gem. Now, let's just, before we get carried away though, I just want to have a look. I don't want to see any green 2x2s, and I don't want to see, I think that is an orthogonally connected green sequence, isn't it? That is absolutely beautiful. Wow. Wow. Agent, take a bow. That was one of the finest new rule sets that we have ever seen on this channel. It's just so, from start to finish, surprising, interesting, clever. It's just top quality. That is a top quality puzzle. Let me know in the comments how you got on with it. I hope you all had a go. And I do enjoy reading the comments, especially when they're kind. And we'll be back later with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.